money.
That was easy.
Nailed it.
All right, let's go home.
Thanks for watching, guys.
right.
If you guys have any questions, you can email us at rtfm@JayzTwoCents.com, and you'll make it into the FTFA section. No.
I was like, just take it away, Phil. Play us out.
I mean, honestly, I just kept going.
play us out.
I just kept going because I was kind of surprised that I kept going and remembered it all.
Well, after like 42 episodes of this show and like 100 episodes of the other show, you would think we would have it by now.
It was like when you had me do the ad read, and I was like surprised that I only messed up a couple times. And
What I
was
thought was funny was your first take was like, you were like screaming and going super fast. That's why I was like, okay, let's slow it down.
Isn't that like normal, like how I normally talk?
No, because you were so concentrating on the script, so you weren't thinking about pacing at all. So you were just like,
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely pre-rolls in the can that like you were doing that on that day, and then like there's other ones that are just like brought to you by this. I'm talking a little bit more like Nick today for some reason. Like, and then I'm just like, oh, it's a
brought
calm
to you
ad.
by Inland Empire Dispensary. Yo.
what is drugs? I have swag. That guy will always be
Dude,
immortalized.
yeah, like why did you take them on a high-speed chase? Because I'm from Riverside and I have swag. And then like
No, he said I'm from Compton.
oh, Compton.
I'm
Yeah, I
from
forgot.
Compton.
I thought it was like some random, like even more dumb place.
So anyway, a little different format for today's show. So in the past, we've always been like a Phil topic and a Jay topic and a Nick topic. But today I decided there's enough going on. We could talk about tech news.
Yeah.
What? Imagine that.
What?
Oh, wow. The tech channel that doesn't talk about tech actually talking about tech.
The funny thing is, like, if this is the only show that some people watch, they're gonna think that we do this every show.
time,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're gonna come back next week and be like
I don't
super
know.
disappointed.
I'm just playing around with it. I mean, we don't have any expectations for the show, honestly,
Yeah.
in terms of like
No, yeah.
what
I
we
mean,
talk about and stuff.
they do sometimes, but we don't.
No, but their expectations need to align with what we're providing.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I mean, remember when like
It's like that's like writing to the creators of Game of Thrones, being like, you know what? No, this needs to be a space show. Make it a space show.
no, I was saying that like in the beginning, how many constant chat messages? How come you guys aren't talking about tech? Right? And it's like because that's not the point of the show. But
And the show is just three dudes hanging out talking about whatever. It ended up always being games and cars, and I don't know, me making people mad.
yeah, I'm saying that like they know that now, but like before, and also every once in a while the new
I don't
people.
think they all know that now because every week it's the same thing. Why aren't they talking tech from new people?
Oh
like
yeah,
it's their first time.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the new people, the people that have been here since that.
No, it's not Tech Talk. That's my old show. That's my old show.
Why are you talking crap about the IE? Because we have the most experience to talk crap about the IE.
I am the most IE person of the three, okay?
Yeah. I mean, literally, just by time itself, you have been in the IE longer than all of us.
And the IE deserves all the crap it gets.
And yeah, exactly. Because none of us three. Well, I mean, I left, but then I ended up back here.
It's the reason why every single time we drive through San Bernardino, we go way beyond the speed limit because we just want to be through it as fast as possible. Like when you see police cars on cinder blocks, you know it's a hood.
It's the SR-71 tactic of just
go so
floor it,
fast,
Yeah.
floor it away from the threat, and it might work.
Yeah. You can't shoot someone if you can go faster than the bullets.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Somebody said, I like how screen size is based on the age of the person using it. Actually, you'll find me and Jay tend to be pretty stereotypical with that sort of stuff. Like Jay tends to, if there is a large and like bold option, he'll pick that. And then if I have compact small form factor option, then I will also
This
pick
is
that.
only the second time I've ever had one of the larger versions of a phone.
I know, but like computer chassis. Considering mine's an SFF and yours is the big ass in win.
I did downgrade from the 928 to the 925. That's a smaller case. But it's a smaller
I did
case.
downgrade my monster truck to a Baja truck. It's fine.
Hey, I could have lifted my truck higher.
I know.
But I didn't. I already call it the PP compensator.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like because you're self-aware of it, like that's why you lifted it
I
to
need
a reasonable
I need a
amount.
license plate that says PEPELOL. PPLOL.
And then the frame just says my other car is my giant dick.
My other car Wait, my other car is I can't think of a.
My giant dick's other car is the Millennium Falcon.
I can't think of
keep
a. I
adding
can't think
to
of
the-
a pun.
What? Your other car?
I can't think of a big pee-pee pun. Like, what car would be a big pee-pee car? There isn't one.
Oh, I mean, it's easier to think of them when you have one. No kidding.
Apparently, all of mine are little pee-pee cars. So,
Yeah, according to the internet.
is the 3060 Ti still a good card?
If it does what you want it to do for the price you found it for, sure.
By today's price, it's still not really.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like $500, then no.
No, it's not $500. You need 3060 Ti's right now for around what, 310, but still, that's not a good price.
Yeah.
For old gen. Speaking
Go watch our buying used video and then buy used. Go buy a
I think
used.
come back to this
3060
question.
Ti. Yeah.
well, we can still like talk about odd prices because so today was the announcement of the 5600X3D CPU.
The first salvage title processor I've ever seen.
That's what's so unique about this.
I know, it's cool.
this
I actually
CPU.
do think it's cool. Like, I think that's an awesome thing that they're...
When Micro Center had originally reached out to us and were like, "Hey, we're launching a CPU," and I'm like, "What do you mean Micro Center is
Yeah.
launching a? What is this?" And it was just like, "Yeah, it's an AMD 5600X3D," but they're like, "We as the retailer are controlling the launch." Now knowing, that through
like the story behind
getting
the
more
chip.
information, obviously, is that they're the only retailer with it, which I didn't know initially.
Yeah, it, like we kind of had at least I got the impression from what you had told me that it was like an exclusivity thing, not a literally, no, we're giving them all to Micro Center, so no one else is going to be able to get any.
I thought it was a launch partner.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
the launch partner, like as in a singular.
They're not even a partner that way. They're just the option. Like they're the only way
See,
to get
initially
it.
I thought maybe because everyone loves Micro Center, even if you don't live near one, the most common comment you're going to see is, "I wish I lived near one," or "We had one nearby." Who could hate a tech superstore, right? Nobody.
with like fair prices.
With below MSRP prices on many things.
Yeah, I mean, I even said fair just to have it be the worst case scenario. Because realistically, there's a lot of. It's usually an insane like deal.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, the 6800 XE that I got for my friend was like $130 off.
well, if you get a bundle, like you got a bundle.
Yeah, I didn't even
I
get a
got the
bundle, and I
motherboard
already
bundle.
got that insane price, which was nuts. And then Nick got even more of a discount.
It's not as aggressive as it used to be at Micro Center. It used to be like, man, you've gone with me to Micro Center when the channel was small. And
I remember the
I would
CPUs
buy
back in
stuff.
the day were
but
like,
no, it's like
damn.
you would grab all your stuff and you get a bundle or whatever. But then you'd find out as you were checking out, like more so like, oh, this hard drive was also $10 off if you got this. Oh, this RAM was also $20 off if you got this. And it just happened to be things that I got. And it's like just seeing literally like someone wielding a samurai sword at the price was pretty awesome. But that kind of stuff doesn't exist so much anymore there. It's
Yeah.
really just the bundle deals. No more is it like, oh, you get $30 off this SSD if you go. They might still have some of that with their Inland, which is their brand. But,
You can't really get too mad about the bundle deals though, because it's like they're usually very logical bundles. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
buy the CPU and this motherboard, which you're gonna do anyway, and then get X off or whatever.
But literally, they have everything there.
Yeah.
But no, so them being the launch partner I thought that was just AMD kind of leaning into the popularity behind Micro Center. I never realized until recently.
They definitely leaned in. They put all the 5600 eggs in.
But
that
it makes
basket.
sense. So when the more you kind of read the press release and the story and stuff, that AMD only had enough for one retailer, and I think realistically that number. If you guys watched today's video, I sort of guesstimated that there might be 12 to 1500 CPUs in existence, because knowing that there's 25 stores, and I'm only going to say 25 because I think by the time Indianapolis opens, technically it's in a soft opening right now, but I think by the time it opens, like they'll be gone. So the 25 stores, they've got to spread what they have out amongst those stores,
Yeah.
and that's it. And I think if they went with a bigger retailer like Newegg or whatever, which sells and ships everywhere,
Or Best Buy. I know Best Buy is like one of their partners too.
what are they going to do? Send one CPU
yeah, per store.
to each store? So anyway, I think they were just able
Yeah.
to make it look like a larger bundle of them at each of the stores. And I bet you Micro Center may not even have enough to send them to every single store.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tustin is one of their highest grossing stores in terms of volume.
What kind of hinted to me when we were filming the video today was that, or what hinted to me that this was different than that sort of normal stock situation was because like you said, AMD themselves were like, hey, this will probably only last like a few months for stock. And that's like, dang, when that company, when they like the actual thing or the company making the chip is like projecting that short of a supply, then
Yeah. So I suspect though that this might be a pilot program for AMD, because this is the first time we have ever seen a CPU silicon get recycled into a new product. Like we talked about it in the video. Binning is a thing. Binning is just where they create a product stack either first versus product yields or artificially creating a bin because of needing more product in a certain category.
Or like a partner approaches and has a need, and then this thing.
But
with
considering
a few mods.
as long as the 5800X3Ds have been around, as long as someone didn't toss it in the trash, if it got RMA'd or sent back or returned because it was broken or whatever, AMD was collecting that silicon and then saying, let's do something with it. Which, first of all, from an environmental standpoint is great. But it's also like, it makes me wonder, like, how many of them were failing? I'm not saying a lot were failing. It's just, by them saying this is extremely limited means, let's say they sold, I don't know, 500,000 and they only have 1,500 of them that were salvageable that they received or whatever. But if this turns to be lucrative, because this is new sales times 2 for AMD. So that one CPU gets sold.
It's like they invented a new old stock item.
Yeah, because every single 5600X3D began life as a 5800X3D. Every single one of them will just, I'm going to, maybe not all of them, maybe some of them failed at the time of being made. But
right. Oh, yeah. Like they didn't even make it to customer.
let's say the majority of them at some point lived in someone's computer, made their way back to them, were delidded, the silicon was taken and basically resubstrated or fixed or whatever they do, and then sold as a new processor again. So one, depending on how much it costs for them to do that, that's now like round of sales number 2 for AMD.
Because that's a tug of war, right?
Yeah.
Like how much does it
how
cost
much does it cost to
stuff?
salvage it?
Yeah, exactly.
Versus selling it again. Now, talking about pricing, it's not cheap. It's $229. Initially, I was like, oh, that's not bad for an X3D CPU. The 5800X3D right now you can have for about $289. So it's $60 more. But remember, you're losing, by going down to 5600X3D, you're losing 2 cores and 4 threads.
And like 100 megahertz across the board?
Yeah.
Compared to the other 3D, yeah.
Yeah. So you gain more, you lose more compared to the non-3D.
Right,
Because the frequencies are higher. So I just kind of did this whole breakdown of like, what are some other CPU prices in that range? And this wasn't some of my initial data that I started collecting for doing the review, because we need to compare these to other CPUs to determine, is the productivity loss with the X3D CPU because of the lower frequencies going to be worth the boost in gaming performance? Or is it better to maybe have a more rounded CPU that's great at gaming and good at productivity without really having to make a trade-off?
Right.
Which you have to make with X3D. Because X3D, you also can't really overclock. They're locked. And that's because of the sensitivity of the cache. So, like, the cache does not like a lot of heat. So adding more voltage and stuff, and typically people undervolt Ryzen CPUs. But still, because of the cache...
You're a motherboard manufacturer.
Yeah.
They're the opposite undervolting. It's opposite day over there.
The instructions are backwards there.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's not forget Asus couldn't even remember the name of the CPU.
Good time.
Well, I wasn't joking when I told you guys that I kind of wished I had a fire extinguisher when I was updating the BIOS on the Ally. I'm like, you never know, man. It's an AMD Extreme CPU in there. Like the fire might be extreme, so I don't know.
So it's unique because of the fact that it's a new CPU on AM4 platform.
Yeah.
So
that's why you said in the video too. We were like, "Hey, they actually did the thing that they said they were going to do way back." When
I don't know if this is what they initially said they were going to do. That they did say.
Yeah, all they said was
they were going to continue. They were going to continue developing product for the AM4 platform because it was so popular, but nothing came out for it
until now.
But this seems like it was almost like a, hey, what should we do with these? Afterthought.
Yeah, it was like one engineer, hey, what do we do with all these? And then the other engineer, hey, I just remembered we told them we were gonna do new Zen 4 stuff. Dude.
Well, let's just deactivate 2 cores and call it a day, right? That has to mean at least the ones that failed, that turned into 5600 X3Ds didn't have more than at least 2 failed cores.
It's just like extremely aggressive bidding for a salvaging type operation.
Yeah, I think I would love to know exactly what that process is like. But anyway, as I started to say regarding prices, a 5600X non 3D, and this is Amazon pricing, by the way, not Micro Center. I guess Micro Center pricing would be fair because it's the only place you can buy it.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, Amazon pricing 5600X non 3D is $148. So,
What, 80 or $90 less?
yeah, and you know what that pays for your RAM? Because you had to start comparing for DDR4 or DDR5. Because AM4 is DDR4 and AM5 is DDR5. It's easy to remember, 4 and 4 and 5 and 5.
And also, $80 can go a decent way on a GPU.
Well, because look, in DDR4, look, I got 32 gigabytes of Team Group 3200 megahertz RAM for $48 on Amazon. That's half of what you would have saved by going, if you could say, hey, a 5600X CPU with a higher frequency, maybe not quite as high of a GPU bottleneck limitation, but who's going to put like a 3090 or a 4080 or something on a 5600X to begin with?
Yeah.
That would be a bad pairing.
Yeah.
I don't think you need that. I don't think you necessarily need the X3D at that particular range. So if you're going to start putting something on there like a 3070 or a 6800X or an XT or whatever, it's like, save that $80.
Yeah, I didn't realize the gap was that big. Because, yeah, like I was starting to say earlier, like $80 can go a long way on a GPU tier upgrade or
SSD.
anything. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? If
It is another secondary component.
If you want to be able to store more than 3 games in today's age, you can get a 2 terabyte SSD finally.
Because the primary components in your system are your CPU, your motherboard, and your memory. Graphics technically is secondary, so is hard drive, power supply, and all that. So when I say core components, this is what I'm talking about. So for $48, you can get 32 gigabytes of 3200 megahertz Team Group
So solid.
RAM, and that extra like $40 you still have left over would easily buy you another SSD.
Yeah.
At least a 500 gig.
Or a switch to a larger, SSD than the one you were already getting.
So the 5700X, let's just say you're like, okay, well, I don't want to go that low on the CPU. The 5700X is $189. So we're still talking $40 less.
That's still your RAM-ish.
That's your RAM.
Like you got to pay $8, but whatever.
Because you're like, okay, I don't need 32 gigs. 16 gigs of RAM for people that are just doing regular gaming and stuff. You can get that for $30.
Yeah.
The Team
16
Group.
gigs is still fine for like pretty much every, unless you know the game that you're playing is heavy. If you don't off the top of your head already know that, then you don't need 32 gigs of RAM. Like there's like maybe Hogwarts Legacy and Star Citizen are the only things that I've seen. Oh, and Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
So, and those are all very modern games that are known to be very heavy. But yeah, those are the only ones I've
But
ever
you
seen.
can easily add more RAM later compared
Down the
to
road,
changing your CPU
Yeah.
or your platform, right?
Because your CPU doesn't leave open slots for you to upgrade to later.
Okay, and then we've got, maybe you just don't want to go that low in a CPU. Maybe you want your CPU to last longer. You do maybe video editing. You want something that utilizes all the threads. A 5800X is $208. So that's what? $22 less, around up thereabouts. $22 less because it's $229 versus $208.
And is the 5800 still 8-core 16 thread or?
It is 8-core 16 thread. It's just not V3D.
Right. Yeah.
It's the non-V3D one.
So you're getting 2 extra cores, 4 extra threads with a crap ton more clock too.
And overclockability.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right, yeah, because that's the thing. Because when you see an X3D CPU, you kind of assume like, oh, it has an X, so it's overclockable. And it's like, yeah, it's unlocked. It's
I'm
just,
not reading chat right now, but I know people are freaking out that Nick is just sitting there and not saying anything. Nick doesn't speak hardware, guys. You want tech news? This is what you get.
I could comment on small stuff, but I see this. It's production wise. I think it's dope that they're trying to experiment of, hey, we could reduce, reuse, recycle.
There's a market for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just talking about the average builder. Like these are this is the problem with having crowded product stacks today.
We were talking about that earlier. We were like, we moved from this era of like a processor was a processor to now where, because so many manufacturers are doing more custom stuff and more specific stuff for specific workloads, now you have to think about it again, where it's like, do I want a work processor or a gaming processor?
But here's the thing. Either or does the same job. It's just, does it do it fast enough,
one of them
right?
is slightly better at
There's
one
no
task.
such thing as a processor that's only productivity or a processor that's only gaming.
Yeah, but I'm saying it also doesn't make sense to buy an X3D and then only play one game a month on it. You know? So it's like, in that sense, it's not a optimal fit for that, that use case scenario.
Yeah.
But before, like you just bought a processor. It's like, oh, you wanted the best gaming processor, you just bought the best processor. Like
So-
there was no distinction beforehand.
So you can get 32 gigs, like I said, for $48, or the same RAM in 16 gigs. So 2 8-gig sticks or 2 16-gig sticks. $30 versus $48. Now, let's say you're the kind of person that's like, well, I don't want a dead-end platform because it is still a dead-end platform.
Yeah.
Right? If you go with AM5 7600, that is a $219 CPU. So in our review, you can expect us to have it compared productivity and gaming against the 7600 as well, 7600X. And when you jump up to DDR5, though, 16 gigs or 2 8-gig sticks of Team Group, and Team Group didn't pay for any of this, just they were the cheapest prices I could find. $60, which has come down a lot, actually.
Yeah, whoa.
lot.
I thought it was gonna be like, I thought you were gonna say like 100 something.
No, and that's like 5200 megahertz RAM, not 4800. It's 5200.
Yeah.
So it's not even like the base clock. Or 32 gigabytes for $80, which is still a good price.
Yeah.
It's a really good price.
But it's also what, double the DDR4 prices?
Yeah. So now talking about motherboards, though, when you start to adopt motherboards, this is where pricing can get all over the place. Because if you're going to run a 5600X 3D or 5600X, a B550 motherboard is plenty. Especially if you get an X3D and you're not going to be overclocking and stuff, you could pay for a whole bunch of functions on like a X570 board you're never going to use, which will beef up the price for no reason at all. You can get an AM4 B550 motherboard. We're talking like MSI Tomahawks and stuff like that, starting as low as $109 new and ranging to about $149 on the motherboards that I would recommend based on VRM quality and just other feature sets that are on the board. But AM5 B650, now you're talking $214 to $99999. I just made it infinite because the board prices are ridiculous.
The upper bound for modern.
There is no upper
motherboard.
bound. It should just be null, right? So what I basically did was I took those prices I just told you guys, and I put together, okay, what is the cheapest? And by cheapest, I mean like not like some knockoff Wish brand you've never heard of, but cheapest, reputable, main manufacturer that you could build a 5600X3D system for. The components using the 5600X3D, the 16 gigabytes of Team Group DDR4, and a $109 B550 comes to $368 for the core components.
Versus the cheapest on AM4.
Cheapest on AM4 for 5600X, which is the non-X3D version of it, drops down to $287 for the same motherboard.
Yeah.
Now,
And these are components that if you're building a computer from scratch, you're going to need all these anyway.
You're gonna need them anyway.
It's not like I'll just skip out and not get this part.
now this
It's like,
obviously
no, you need all
applies
these.
to anyone pricing out the system. If you have like a board or whatever you can already use or RAM, obviously
Right.
that makes your decision a little simpler because you're going to be stuck on the 5600X 3D anyway. You wouldn't be considering AM5 unless you, again, doing a whole system. But AM5, on the other hand, the cheapest 7600X possibility using 16 gigabytes of Team Group was $493. So we're talking in a gaming PC that can be built for $287 for your core components or just under $500. Now, what kind of GPU would you pair with this? This is perfect for like a 3060 Ti, an AMD, a Radeon 6700 XT. I mean, I guess a 4060 or 4060 Ti if you're hell bent on buying that.
You think some of those like lower end GPUs that would be a solid pairing are roughly the price of that price difference? What is it, like 200 or like 180?
Well, you can
less?
buy a 3060 for like I was looking at prices today. Since the 4060 has officially launched and the 4060 Ti, the 3060 and stuff has started trickling downward a little bit.
Nice.
About $270 for that GPU. Like a 3060 non-Ti.
So you're basically going with the cheaper platform. Now you got pretty much like only $100 left towards your graphics card that you need to buy, basically. Versus the other one where you're going to spend that $450 plus. Now you still have to get a graphics card, and you didn't put any money towards.
Well,
it.
it's about an $80 difference between going with the X3D and the non-X3D. It's basically the only difference in price was the CPU because they're the same.
No, I meant AM4 versus AM5. Like your cheapest AM4 like components versus cheapest AM5 components.
Well, 287 versus 293. So 100.
Oh, 293.
$205.
Wait, you said 287 to 293?
287 to 493.
Oh, to 493. Okay.
Yeah. 287 to 493 is the price jump. If you go from the cheapest AM5 or AM4 to a cheapest AM5. So that $205 pays for a good chunk of something around a 60 tier, whether it be 3060 or 6700.
That's exactly what I was trying to get at. I was like, you could either get the newer platform and still have to buy a GPU, or the older platform and a GPU, and then you don't even have to worry about anything. You know what I mean?
This is why I'm really interested to play around with this CPU.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that, you're not gonna. I don't feel like you're gonna take a 5600X 3D and throw like a 3080, 3090 on it. I believe you could. I believe the Vcache will probably alleviate some of the bottlenecking that will exist by putting a 3080 on like a non X3D.
Yeah.
But I just want to know, for the extra $80 though, what is this is kind of the ideology we use here is, if a product is 25% more expensive, you need to get at least 25% more performance, or it's a bad deal. That's plain and simple. So I need to see now, do we get $80 more gaming performance out of it? So I need to do the math real quick. I should have done that on here. I'll do it in the review. We'll do it later. But
And I guess also conversely, then it also has the safety net of, it just has to perform better than 80% worse, or $80 worse than the non.
I can guarantee you the difference in price between the 5600X at 148 and the 5600X 3D at 229. I can guarantee you the percentage of price gap is much greater than any uplift you're going to see on any GPU that makes sense. Now, I guess we could test the bottleneck by like throwing a 4090 on there. And ultimately, that's one of the things we'll have to do to find the limits of the CPU. But the thing is, like, that review also needs to include 4090 because it's the fastest card and it's the only way to hit the limits of the CPU. But then reasonable GPU, 3070, 6700 XT, something like that.
Or like you said, 6060 Ti tier, because that's a lot of. I mean, we always come back to the Steam survey, right? But like it's a very known fact now that like the 60 tier and the 600 tier on AMD cards, like that is usually where most people buy, because it's where the price makes the most sense. I mean,
there's definitely,
considering this generation, but whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like the 1060 and the 1660 are still like the top cards on Steam, because you know what I mean? Like that's where most people shop.
They are the top cards, but it's a lot less than it used to be. It used to be a higher percentage.
Yeah, we're getting a lot more diversity of like new, AMD stuff is starting to creep up and stuff too.
But a 6700 XT, like I said in my review, is $299. That's like the card to buy at $300, in my opinion, because it beats the 4060. And like what, 8 out of our 10 tests or something like that.
See, so now it's like, now would you go with the AM5 platform, but then now you have to you have to buy that GPU effectively, or
I personally would only go AM5 if I'm considering upgrade path.
Right.
How long am I going to keep the system together before, if I know like, hey, it took me 5 years to save enough money to build this system, and it's going to be another 5 years before I can upgrade it, then I would probably go with the cheaper system, knowing, okay, these components meet my needs today.
Yeah.
Sure, it might be sunset, and it's last year's newest thing until it came out in fall when the new stuff came out. I would go with that. If I knew I'm the kind of guy that's like, I want to upgrade every 2 years, maybe every year, I want to plop a new CPU, and then you got to go AM5. Unless you're just like, okay, I'm okay with the CPUs above the 5600X 3D that are still in 5000 series, and then maybe drop a 5950 in there. However, you're not going to drop a 5950 in a $109 motherboard. So these are the things you have to consider. And this is why buyers today are just standing there in the middle of Micro Center when we're shooting videos with products in their hand, like going, the heck do I do?
Like that clip of me when during our first like shopping spree, when I was just in the aisle, just like, the whole dad hands on the hips pose, looking at things.
Because here's the thing. You can still buy a $600, $700 AM4 platform. Because you can buy a 5950X and an X570. That's a $400 board, because it's going to have a bigger VRMs and dual 8-pin EPS power and all that sort of stuff. So that's why I put that range of 109 to 149. I think around 149 for a B550 is a sweet spot for a mid-range CPU, like something in the 5600X. I would still feel comfortable going as high as like a 5800X on there. But that's about where I'd stop. Maybe the X3D. So, there's upgrade path, but if you saw like a family tree of CPUs like 10 years ago versus today, like the one from 10 years ago would look like something a kindergartner drew. Today it would look like something NASA made.
I was going to say, like, it makes it like not difficult in that, like, oh, we have to do this, but like, it's definitely a lot more interesting, because like, now that we're benchmarking these things that are specialized, you know what I mean? Now it's like, now we have to do this weird like productivity versus gaming type benchmark. It's like how do you architect that? How do you set it up and that sort of stuff?
I kind of feel, but first of all, in chat, Mr. Seth said $59.50 on my $200 motherboard with a smiley face. A $200 motherboard is built very different than a $109 motherboard. First of all, we'll put that out. $200 motherboard used to be a high-end motherboard.
I was gonna say, does he think the $200 motherboard is cheap? Because you've seen Mark's old motherboard.
Yeah, but I also
wearing
want,
a
but Stuart
unlocked
McKenzie in chat also said AMD 6750 XT with a 5800 X3D on AM4 still rocks. I hate the fact that he has to say still rocks because so many people, enthusiasts in this genre, believe if you don't have the newest, latest,
Literally
highest
the newest,
thing,
yeah.
oh, that's old, that's obsolete, that sucks, and that's not true. Your performance overnight didn't drop, so your system doesn't still rocks. I guess it does. It's always rocked. It has not rocked less somehow.
Yeah, it has rocked. It is rocking, and it will rock.
Yeah.
I feel like for
Amen.
like new builders altogether, like if they start at scratch, I think their main focus would be like, what GPU do I want first, and then build their stuff up around that, versus starting out with the motherboard and CPU.
I don't know. I've talked to a lot of new builders, and I don't think they really have any clue what GPU or CPU they want walking into it.
I was gonna say that I agree with it in that I think that is correct in that most people that don't know what they want are gonna go for the GPU first because that's the thing that they hear about and know.
In our build guides, we've talked about that before, but I've also said that like your GPU should never be more than like a third of your budget.
Yeah.
Because then you walk into bottleneck territory.
And that's actually like thinking of it in partitions of budget is a really good way to do it because you don't really have to think about performance because
and by third of budget, I mean the entire system, not just the main components.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a $3,000 budget, then your GPU can't be more than $1,000. Like obviously,
which wouldn't even buy you a 4080.
Damn.
You still, I mean, you get like
I
an
wasn't
open
thinking
box
about how
3080.
sad those numbers were, but yeah.
So I mean, you can still get an open box 3080 around that.
But I was saying, Jay, what I was getting at was that like I like Jay's idea of setting your GPU budget as a part of your primary budget because then no matter what your budget is, it's going to be very hard for you to accidentally get too much GPU.
Yeah.
Because as long as you stick to that like third-ish rule, you know what I mean?
Now you can grow into your GPU, but nope. I mean, now you're buying with known limitations that you're planning on upgrading later, which to me is just inefficient expenditure of money.
I think the thing that makes a GPU nice, thinking of like the forward compatibility and like what you're going to do with the system in the future, is because now that I think about it, the GPU and like storage and RAM are like the only things in a computer that you can take out and put in a different computer without having to think about compatibility or platform type or whatever. You know what I mean?
You know what drives me nuts, and I've seen this at Micro Center a lot. Anytime where they're filming, people will oftentimes like show me their cart, like, yeah, I'm getting this and this and this, and I never critique.
Yeah,
I never critique. I don't provide them like, oh, you really gonna get that, huh? You know, I don't do that.
Yeah, because you don't be the guy at the car show that's like, oh, why didn't you turbo it? It's like because it's my car. No, but anyway, yeah.
But let me tell you what I see a lot of that ties into this argument too. Not argument, but this way of thinking. I'll see people with like high-end GPUs and nice SSDs and high-end CPU and just like their AIOs, and it's like, oh wow, this guy got a nice tax return or something because he is just like going all out. And then I see like a BenQ 1080p panel.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they don't even like they have just unbottlenecked themselves all the way to their eyeballs, and then they're bottlenecked because it's like resolution plays a huge part because like even the 5600X 3D, if we're bottlenecking in something like 1440p high settings, you know, games that maybe don't take a lot of, you know, horsepower to play.
Yeah, like high refresh rate stuff instead of like high fidelity stuff.
Yeah, flip it to 4K and watch what happens. All that bottleneck is gone, you know? So in fact, only since 3090s existed have we started seeing CPUs of any category get bottlenecked by 4K.
I mean, just in general, having the CPU be a bottleneck. It's been a while.
And actually, it's rare that it's a CPU. Usually those cards are hitting engine caps before the CPU has a problem with it.
Yeah, that's a new thing. Because honestly, the last time I remember in like my PC nerd career where like I had to think about CPUs potentially being the bottleneck in a system was like early 3D accelerator era. Like GeForce 256, Voodoo, like that era.
Yeah.
I remember having to think about CPUs. And then I was like, I remember as it like CPUs got so much faster, like it it was like, oh, cool. It's like one of those things that I don't have to think about it anymore when I'm building a new system or whatever. And then fast forward, 10, 15 years, it's like, wait, we're thinking about it again. What the heck?
Nick is the perfect case study for this sort of ideology, though, because I've known Nick now like almost 14 years.
Yeah.
And you have never been the kind of person that shops at the top, even in like fantasy world. You have always been the like, yeah, I'm going to aim like right in the middle.
The reasonable, yeah.
Yeah,
reasonable.
yeah. Now I'm the kind of guy that's always been like, even like, especially when I couldn't afford it, I'm like, oh, and then I'm going to date myself here. I really wanted that GTX 285, or that I wanted a GTX 8800, but I could only afford a GTS 8600.
Oh yeah,
kind of a thing.
That was when they put the letters after the numbers, and then a lot of people don't even remember.
8600 GTS. Yeah, remember when GTS was a thing?
I remember seeing GTS all over the Steam survey because I feel like that was the 60 tier back then.
I'm gonna drop some truth bombs on y'all right now, especially in chat. Like people are probably not gonna realize this. The only GPU I ever bought myself that was new, all the way up until and by like any tier, like I've always bought used or hand-me-downs from friends, was an EVGA 7600 GTKO. Okay, and then I put a Zalman cooler on it. Like, one of those like the fin ones with the fan in it. Yeah, I put a Zalman cooler on it.
I remember when those were the thing.
I did not buy another new GPU until the GTX 580, and my dad bought me that actually as a birthday present.
Nice.
And then 680, my cousin or my brother-in-law gave me. 780 was a review. No, 780. I remember. But yeah, so I spent a lot of time. Oh, how I wish I could afford. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand like where you come from of like I would love to be able to buy high end, but like you said, most people shop in the 60 series or somewhere in the middle, which is why I think this CPU is going to be great, but I think it's a little bit low tier for what it's aimed to do. Because unless you're really throwing a lot of frames at the CPU, the 3D V-Cache might not get a chance to really shine. That's why the 5800X 3D held its own so well against Intel up until Intel 13th gen, and then it fell off again.
Yeah. And that's why we keep coming back to this whole, like, now there's gaming processors and work processors. You know what I mean? Like, you have to think about this stuff now where it's like the X3D is not an automatic win. It's a win in one category, but you have to give up some stuff in other categories.
But yeah, as I was searching and kind of getting my data set up for how I wanted to do the review, I started realizing, like, man, 229, not really a great deal. Especially when you get a 5800X for 208 or 5700X for 189.
Yeah, I guess the $64 million question for gaming is it going to game more like a 5600X or a 5800X 3D? If it's towards the latter, then obviously that's a better proposition for it.
Yeah, it might warrant that bump in price too.
Because that is interesting that it has the core count of a 5600X, but the V cache of a 5800.
As a core count of 5600X, but it's
the
400 megahertz lower on the boost or the base and 200 megahertz lower on the turbo.
Right.
So is it going to really be more like a 5500G or 5400G, whatever? I don't think
right, in like non-gaming
in productivity.
Yeah.
So, but that also has less cores. It's going to be weird. It's
just like that's exactly the word for it. It's weird AF right now. Yeah. So we're just gonna have to throw a bunch of tests at it and see what the heck happens. How to
like the description for it overall just sounds like a Franken turbo at this point. Like,
yeah, basically. but like you have two halves of from two different turbos. Yeah.
Or different. What'd you call it?
Impeller
in a housing.
Yeah, because you can build your turbo with the compressor side, hot side, completely different on how you want it to run.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? The other thing I have to think about is the fact that this is a 100% recycled CPU.
It's not 33 like Microsoft, the controllers.
But they're charging definitely brand new pricing for it. However, these are almost all derivative from when they were like over $500. Remember the 5800X 3D for a while there was almost $600.
True. Yeah.
Because that came out in like the height of like low quantity everything.
Because back then, like the CPU manufacturers were aiming at like the 500 to 600 point for their top tier processor, right?
That was in the height of people criticizing AMD because AMD had started to grow their prices towards Intel.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Because people were like, dang, no longer is AMD like our budget savior because, they can compete with Intel, so now they want to be Intel pricing, and a lot of people were really salty. And I understand that. But now, knowing it started off as a $600 CPU, and it's recycled now for $229, the question is, this isn't 2020 anymore. It's 2023. Is it going to hold its own on a dead-end platform? Mm-hmm. Speaking of holding its own and GPU stuff, I just want to kind of do a little short topic here about Intel Arc. And I noticed this in my video too when I did the review of the 7600, the 4060, and I said
so many numbers now.
The A750 held its own pretty well given its cost. And I was like, what is going on with A770? Why is it so expensive?
It's kind of funny how it's like a common trend between both of our 40 series mid-tier reviews is that we were both kind of like, we came here to review this thing, but the Intel thing is kind of cool. It's kind of kicking ass over here.
It's fun to have 3 different manufacturers to talk about.
It forces all of them to have a fire under their ass now.
Yeah.
Like, because they're like, there's no like, they're winning and we can just, our fire's under our ass, or we're winning and we can just like let off. It's like, no, there's another guy there now.
Well, speaking of that mid-range GPU, like Intel Arc has discontinued the A770 Limited. Now, there's so much confusion around this. So many people think and took the announcement as, hey, we're no longer making Arc.
Yeah.
It's in the name, people. It says limited.
Which was, if I recall correctly, the 16 gigabyte variant of the 770, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and it was the one manufactured directly by Intel.
Yeah. It was their FE.
When Pascal first launched, the 10 series, the 1080 and all that was when they had a limited amount of Founders Edition cards. Like it was a short-term thing.
Yeah, I remember that when it was like special to have a Founders Edition.
Which is why when 20 series came out and they announced that they would always be available, that's when we started going, wait, you're now competing against your own AICs? So, and then it became a permanent thing.
Because it wasn't, technically, yeah, like they were competing before, but because their runs were so small and limited that like it didn't really piss people off. But
I couldn't find any definitive information on whether or not they're discontinuing currently the Arc 750 Limited.
Right.
Because anything Intel branded is a limited edition.
What Arc cards do we have now that aren't the limited editions? Well, besides the AIC ones?
We don't have any. Here in our studio, we don't
No.
have any.
I meant available for people to buy.
Yeah, so we got ASRock, Acer, and Sparkle.
Right. And they have that one, I think it's like, one of them has that weird asymmetrical fan where it's like one crazy RGB fan. And
that's the Acer.
Okay, yeah, that was the one I was thinking of.
And then ASRock makes one as well, but Sparkle was around a long time ago too. They used to make a Nvidia card.
Yeah, when Jay told me that, I was like, what? Like,
I thought he was pranking
3D
me.
effects on them? What?
I thought it was a prank. He was
Yeah,
like,
and
wait,
Nick had even less of an idea than I did. I had never seen a Sparkle card.
Seeing the fact that they make Intel cards, I was like, dang, they're still around.
Yeah, and I was like, what? What's a Sparkle?
That's like if you suddenly heard BFG is back.
Yeah, exactly. Because I had a BFG card at least.
So anyway, so it's one of those things where a lot of people really just read a headline, or people maybe sensationalize the headline saying Intel no longer making Arc.
Yeah. Which
would be a complete lie because it's just their particular
and
limited
monumentally
card.
stupid for Intel to do, considering how much they've already R&D'd into this thing. I know the sunk cost fallacy is a fallacy, but still.
Yeah, not to mention
they're not going to drop this much R&D.
Not to mention their most recent drivers gave up to 30% improvement in performance.
Yeah.
I know they're coming out with a new series. I hope they come out with like a 970 or something, which would be confusing because Nvidia had a 970 a long time ago.
Like my vibe with whenever I see progress and stuff with the Arc is that, that gif of the guy that's like,
yeah.
Like I love that, like just seeing them still at it and still freaking like, dropping all these dope performance like updates in the drivers, fixing all these weird like, issues with games and stuff like that. And I feel like, this is a random tangent, but like I feel like a lot of people don't understand the amount of collaboration required for a graphics driver between the graphics manufacturer and the game designers. Like there's so much custom. This is the reason why an Nvidia driver is like over a gigabyte now.
Yeah.
Like I remember when like they hit like 40 megabytes, and I was like, what? Why? Why do we need
the
all
driver
this?
can only get bigger?
Yeah, because they don't delete old stuff. Like if you ever have Nvidia Profile Inspector. look through all the profiles that come with the driver. You'll find stuff for like Command and Conquer Red Alert.
Yeah, because it has to continue to support any
got
game
built
that has
library.
ever been in there.
Yeah, they've been adding to that list since like it was called Forswear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Forswear.
Yeah, like it was like single and double digit version numbers. Now we're at like 5,000,328. But yeah, there's so much collab. Like I've looked into that sort of stuff and been like, that sucks. I don't ever want to work in that area because like there's so like. When a new game engine comes out, or even just a new game on an old engine, because they might have done some custom stuff when they were making it, now they have to also talk to all 3 graphics manufacturers and say, hey, this is the weird stuff that our game does. And this is the stuff that you might have to flip in your driver to, to do
All
this.
3 of these companies send engineers to the studios.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, they send a physical engineer
You
there.
can tell when they've sent more than one when they have the logo on the front of the game.
No, that's when they sent a big check with them.
Oh yeah, yeah. They sent a team of engineers and a check, and like specialists on the custom tech that whatever company has.
Well, as a little side tangent, it's not an official topic, and I don't have any of the details in front of me because I didn't make notes on it. But AMD's recently been kind of accused of going into
Was it the DLSS thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been reading about that too.
kind of trying to stifle DLSS improvements and DLSS like being implemented into games.
So the topic at hand is people started realizing that when a game is sponsored by AMD and uses FSR,
There's
and,
no DLSS.
Yeah, like. And it's weird because obviously there's nothing precluding you from including both or all 3.
It's like Cyberpunk has all 3.
Yeah, Cyberpunk is all 3. Cyberpunk is just like, sure, use whatever the heck you want. Like, we don't care. You know what I mean?
Turn them both on.
Yeah.
It lets you.
It doesn't really.
Yes, you can turn on DLSS and FSR.
Oh, probably FSR 1 because that's a spatial scaler. But anyway.
But still,
yeah,
it's
the
an
fact
AMD
that
tech.
it'll let you just like turn your pixels into casserole. but yeah, like that's the whole point of PC gaming is that like we chose to game on a computer because we wanted to customize and
But now
pick and have
they're
options.
turning your GPU into your console exclusive
Exactly.
type stuff.
Yeah.
Sure, you can still play the game, but knowing that there's maybe manufacturers out there like AMD or Nvidia and Intel maybe going and underhandedly slipping money to the developers to say, hey, let's not support this tech.
It's like it's a little the blow is softened pretty decently by the fact that FSR2 is cross-plat, but yeah, it's just DLSS does look significantly better than FSR2 still. And so it sucks that, you have a situation in which
This is something I would have expected from AMD prior to Lisa Su, but not now.
back during the Vega push.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
God, that marketing.
With all their crazy marketing and the hello fellow kids type of,
and
banners and stuff they
the
made.
RIP Volta, and then like Nvidia's like, you guys are like literally barking up the wrong tree. We're not even launching this as a gaming card, so I don't know why you guys are freaking out about it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile they're all over there making posters like announcing the death of Volta as if Volta was going to be their card. Their GPU.
No,
their
Volta
gaming
was
card.
just a little middle gap project card to play around with tensor cores.
Yeah, it was like the AI team was like, hey, we accidentally made a card that probably looks like it could do some games. You guys want it? To the GeForce team, right?
Yeah.
Because yeah, that's another, that was another thing we were talking about earlier today was that Nvidia's business model isn't gaming cards anymore, and it hasn't been. For a
You're
while.
jumping ahead.
Oh,
You're jumping ahead, sir. I actually have that in our doc.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay.
Then we'll talk about it
We'll
later.
just move
I
right
see
to
this
it
right
because
here.
Intel was supposed to be a small one. Oh no, I take that back. We have one more GPU topic.
Okay.
The GPU talk today. No, it's just about the fact that 4060 Ti prices are starting to go below MSRP a little bit. A couple of so here's the thing, and this is what I hate so much about AIBs. You know what? I just AIBs are stupid. And let me tell you why. They all believe everything they make is better
Okay, yeah, I know where you're
than
going with
MSRP.
this. Yeah.
Everything they make deserves to be more expensive than MSRP. Now, I get it on like a car when you're like, I want this function, this function, this function, this function. Well, that's going to cost you this package, this package, this package, and this is the cost of the car.
Yeah.
You're not getting any more function out of an AIB card than you are out of the MSRP version of the card. You're just getting whatever overbuilt expensive cooler they threw on it, especially for a 60 series card. But whatever for a 115 watt card or whatever it is.
Yeah, I feel like we should do that as a video sometime soon.
We have a million times.
I know, but like again, because we need to remind people. Like,
so you get an extremely overpriced 4060 Ti that costs $399, now costing what? So here's what I wrote down: the Aorus Elite from Gigabyte is $469 for a 4060 Ti. The Asus TUF is $454. Somebody there is a Chevy fan. Anyway, moving on. The Gigabyte Aero is $449, and the Zotac Twin Edge is $449.
do they have cards in the low 500 tier? Like price range?
No, the most expensive one I found was the 469.
No. I mean, other cards other than a 4060 Ti that would be competitive with it
Yeah, you can buy a
Slightly
3070 Ti.
for 500.
Less.
Oh,
But anyway, but that aside, let me finish.
yeah.
Let me finish. So the point is that now that some of the cards have started to drop below MSRP, their base model cards, like the MSI Ventus is $370 at Newegg, or $379 at $370 at Newegg, whatever. The MSI Ventus 2 is $399, the Asus Dual is $389, and the PNY Verto Dual is $380. These are crap cards, by the way. Like, they're coolers. Like, these are cards that you pick up and they feel flimsy. Like, you squeeze too hard, they're going to break. Literally, like, what is the cheapest we could possibly make a GPU that is this NVIDIA crap, and then we can just sell it for this much money?
minimum viable product.
But why is that happening? Because of low demand. However, why the hell is the 4070, the 4070 Ti, 4080, and 4090 still going for anywhere between $750 to $2,500? They're all in stock everywhere, available everywhere. NVIDIA could absolutely lower those prices and still make money, but they don't want to, because what we started to talk about earlier is when I think NVIDIA is doing it out of spite. I honestly think, and by the way, these cards that are going below MSRP, these are decisions being made by the AIC. Because AICs have to survive on selling these cards. Yeah. NVIDIA doesn't. The AICs already bought the silicon from NVIDIA. NVIDIA made their money. Because remember, that's how the arrangement works. You're an AIC, I'm NVIDIA. Right. Y'all bought the silicon from me. Yeah, that's our transaction. Good luck. Have a nice day.
Here's my check. Here's my 10 million.
Just don't break the rules we put in place regarding how you build your card.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, God.
Now, you guys have to make money as a middleman on a transaction that's happened. So you have to boost up that transaction, build your card, and make money on it. People right now are super mad at NVIDIA, which means by proxy, we hate you guys too, right? So you guys aren't making any money because nothing is moving, so your companies are starting to dry up. While NVIDIA is continuing to become one of the biggest companies on the planet, the smaller companies are failing. So they have to start bringing prices down just to incentivize sales. Now, there's not a huge markup in graphics with cards, by the way.
Yeah. We saw all this with the EVGA stuff, right?
That was
a pretty big eye-opener.
It's a low margin. Okay, so you'd have to sell a lot of cards at discounting it $20 to make it, because they might have discounted it, honestly. They might be making $5 on a card, realistically, at this point. So, and then if they're being sold at retailers and stuff, the retailer gets a cut too, or an e-tailer, they get a cut. So it gets chopped up along the way. All the profit, all those margins disappear. So I think not AMD, but NVIDIA is keeping prices high out of spite, and I honestly think it's pushback and spite out of all the things that Steve has said and I've said and Linus has said and Hardware Unbox has said, and basically everyone is like, dude, these prices and such are just do not make sense. And I'm thinking to myself, why can NVIDIA continue to do this and not care?
Because people still buy it.
No.
Really?
That's not why. People are clearly not buying it because they're on shelves and being discounted. So they wouldn't be discounting it if people were buying it, like at a high enough rate. Phil, why does NVIDIA not care?
NVIDIA's AI and high-performance computing business is the $100 bill in the pocket, and the graphics cards are like a quarter.
The graphics cards,
maybe 50 cents.
The graphics cards are nothing more than a market that they exist in because they started there, built their fortune there, moved on to something else, and basically just go like, oh yeah, here's some shit you guys can go and play with. Oh, you don't like the price? That's okay. It doesn't matter to us. Because here's the thing, I looked up the NVIDIA stocks today, and I expected to see
that way, right?
No, that's not what's happening. So if I look at the overview, they're trading right now at $423 a share. They're up 3.63% today alone. Now, Friday, two things happen on Fridays, either sell-offs or buyouts. So right now they've obviously traded up. If I look over the last year.
Audio only, visual can't even see it either, but like,
okay,
the line is going like this. I'll give you an audio example.
No, I'll put it. I can put it up on here.
It's doing that, and we expected.
Hold on. I can get this on here.
Hey,
Let's
mine was
see.
like blind accessible too.
Yeah,
Even
no,
if you put
that
the
makes,
picture,
I can't see the picture.
I know you can't. I know you
saw
can't.
exactly how it went.
I was thinking of a.
I can't help which way it's facing. Okay, look, it will cover me up. There is the current stock over the last year. Okay, so if we scroll down here and we take a look, if we look at September of 2022, this is when all of the 4090 stuff started. You would think somewhere in here with all the 4090s catching fire, or not catching fire, but melting and stuff, there'd be some sort of an effect. No. Do you see this
I see
right
a little
here?
tiny dip, and then yeah.
Boop. Yeah, because if it starts to go down, people are like, I'm going to buy
And
it
I
now.
think what happened, like looking at this just from like a, let me put myself in a super greedy shareholder kind of point of view, right? Like the dip was like, okay, cool. No one cared. Keep investing. You know what I mean? Like that's basically what it looks like. The graph. That's the story it's telling me.
But look right here. You see this whole, you could, man?
Yeah, sorry.
Look away from the mic next time, not into it.
Chocolate rain.
He's like,
Some stay dry, others feel pain. Chocolate rain. I just love that he called it out in that meme or the video.
focus.
Anyway.
Okay, so if we look here at May 24th of this year, look at this jump from 305 to 379
ChatGPT.
in one day. Yeah, so this is when
OpenAI.
this is when all the AI stuff really started kind of taking off.
It was when AI got in the public mindshare. Like
Now who?
my mom was texting me about
Now
AI.
the
and I
reason
was
why
like,
this
oh, no,
matters
big,
is
dude.
because ChatGPT and all that deep learning and stuff was happening on Nvidia graphics and Nvidia supercomputers. All their like I forget what they're called. Their workstation, not the workstation, but like
HPC. High performance computing is the
yeah, but like the rack thing that they built.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
Dang.
like $150,000.
DGX I think is yeah.
Anyway, I keep saying AMD. Nvidia is making all of its money on AI right now.
And it's funny now that I think about it, going way back to Turing. Of course, their brand new tech was AI based because they had already been in this market in this HPC push for AI
Since Volta.
Yeah, and they were like, "Hey, we think we could do some AI stuff for the gamers if we train this neural model on like what a video game is supposed to be like, and then have it try to draw those frames." Unfortunately, it sucked, and they reverted to a more TAA setup. But anyway, like. Yeah, like I didn't think about that until the fact. I was like, why are they pushing an AI feature all of a sudden? It's like,
Here's what I didn't realize.
'cause
If
that's
you
the
had bought
business.
Nvidia stock last year at 151, today you'd be trading at 423. And that's only a year. I don't know why I thought Nvidia was a little more flat than it is. So if we look at the last 5 years, look at the 5-year growth. So this right here was built upon like this climb. Obviously, this is pandemic climb right here. And then
Oh, right. Yeah. That was when everyone was like, okay, I'm going to be stuck at home and build a computer.
right. But then look, after October of last year,
So that's drama.
climb.
then, yeah.
If we look at their max of their entire traded history, look at that. Look how flat that was for 20 years.
Where's the start of the first
99.
climb?
They started
Oh.
at 99 at 40
No,
cents
no,
a
no, no.
stock.
The first start of the climb.
2016, Pascal.
Yeah, makes sense. That's funny. That's
go.
crazy to see the actual blip on the radar of like that big of a product launch.
Yeah, there was a big drop in 2018, but then
Yeah, because Turing, right? Wait,
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
anyway, this was all. What you can kind of see though is even during the pandemic of all the shortages and the scalping and stuff, they climbed significantly. But that was also during their heavy AI buildup push, and then this drop right here, that was a big crash for a bit. Like from, can I do a highlight range? No, dang it, what did I do? So if I click here, if I go here from 326 in November of 21, all the way down to 121 in September of 2022. So that was a big drop. But there's more to this story though. This is what the stock price is, but check this out. If we look at the financials,
Oh yeah, this blew.
this is crazy. So their revenue in January of 2021, as the fiscal year ended, they had $10.9 billion of revenue. Their net income is $2.8 billion. So that was what they made, right? That was a profit margin of 25.61%. Too many people confuse revenue with like cash or cash flow or profit, right? So they did not make $10.9 billion. They brought in $10.9 billion, but once you subtract what they've spent, they made $2.8 billion. It was pretty flat to the end of 21. 16.7, they netted 4.3 billion, 25.98% profit. And then last year, $26.9 billion, the net income, $9.8 billion for a 36.23. Could you imagine if over a third of your money, like that, a company like Nvidia probably spends like mad. I can't imagine what it costs to operate that company. But
Just
to have
the HPC side too, let alone the our side. That
but to have a 36% profit margin. But then look at this. What happened here? The beginning of this year, they had $27 billion of revenue. That is their most revenue that we've at least seen in the last, the last 3 years or 4 years of annual report. Only 4.4 billion, and dropped all the way down to a 16.9% profit margin. My only thought is they could be heavily spending in AI right now.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, that and
This by the way, gamers, this isn't you. This isn't us. This isn't Linus. This ain't you. This ain't your pocketbook. We as gamers and gaming cards are a fraction of their net. Period.
Remember how we pulled that the conference call with the investors to get little sound bites of like Jensen talking?
Right.
One thing that I didn't look through when I was looking through that was because we were gaming focused. I was only looking for gaming stuff. Yeah.
We need to start seeing what they're saying.
I know. Now I'm like, I wonder what he was talking about from the AI and the HPC business, because I bet you it was just like, oh yeah, so by the way, we're kicking absolute all the ass in this space.
Yeah.
And like, so you guys can just keep giving us money and we won't fail and it'll be fine. And all those gamers yelling about the low cards, it's fine. They're literally like arguing over dino nuggets. Like,
okay, so
in the grand scheme of things.
So if we look at
that's what we're doing.
if we look at their balance sheet, it's pretty interesting.
Sad.
So in 2020, they had 17.3 billion in assets. And then in 2020, in debt to assets, they had 11.5% debt to asset. That is, they are operating well into the black. Okay, way into the black.
It's 11% in that direction. Okay, jeez. Yeah.
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah, they have their debt equals 11% of their asset. Okay, so if you look up here now, 28.8 billion. Now they have a little more debt. They've spent some money and they borrowed some money, right? 28.8 up to 42 or 44.2 billion, still at 24% debt, and then 41. So from 44 to 41. 26.6. So that yellow line that you're seeing there, that's the debt increase.
So basically, the yellow line is like, how much are they spending?
Right. So the blue graph is their income, like the total assets of the total value of the company. Right. Like the physical things, not the valuation of the company, but the things that the company has. Yeah. So you can see the debt climbing. Cash flow, it's all over the place.
Yeah, I'm confused.
But look at their investing. Look at this. Look at their investing. The yellow line is the investing. Oh. What do you think they're investing in? Yeah. Probably AI. Because look, they've got...
It's just funny that they stopped for a second. They were like, let's slow down on investing. Oh,
well, look, they went from being a financer to an investor. You see what I mean? So instead of them financing things themselves, they are investing in things. They're two different... The way financing and investing works is different. But look at that. Look at that yellow line. They've invested $7.4 billion this year already.
It has to be AI and HPC. It has to be.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking with that like profit graph, I wonder if their margins are less on HPC just because it's so much bigger and more intensive hardware.
Yeah.
Like making a graphics card for Nvidia is easy. Like that's like the PC build you do in your sleep. Like compared to the HPC stuff that they're doing, compared to like those software suites and APIs and stuff they have to maintain for all the
I only wanted to show this for a couple of reasons. One, everyone talks about the fact that Nvidia is now worth $1 trillion. They're not actually $1 trillion cash flow company, but this also plays into what I said here on literally Jensen could have a wild hair up his ass and be like, screw gamers. Yeah. They want to whine and complain. Yeah. All this that I've built, all the leather jackets I have bought.
All the spatulas.
You want to
We invented the GPU.
It's like, you want to complain? Fine. Prices, stay where they are. They can stay on the shelves. All these whiny ass gamers. You know, I have no doubt that, and Jensen, and I have no doubt he would say that only because of what people who work for him have told me behind the scenes on the way he is.
And honestly, that sentiment has been outward facing since the beginning. They literally, like, if you look at all the marketing material for the GeForce 256, they called it the world's first GPU. There were definitely graphics cards before the GeForce 256. The only reason they called it a GPU, and they were like, we're going to coin this term, as if, CPU didn't already hint in that.
Dude, chat is moving.
Like, the only reason they did it was because it had hardware transforming lighting built into the card. You didn't have to have a separate card for that.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that they decided to do differently, and they're like, we're inventing the GPU.
Yeah.
Very
So
Apple-like.
I just wanted to give that little bit of insight
Yeah.
because of the fact that we as gamers complaining about the price of graphics
it's
cards.
a drop in the bucket.
Like, even if I feel like if everyone just stopped buying GPUs, they would still be in the black. So how can we even begin to incite any sort of change, even if you vote with your pocketbook? Look, Jensen is an evil villain. He's an evil villain. There's no doubt about it. He is he's GPU gaming stuff. That's his like
pet project at this point, huh?
no, not even pet project. He ain't involved in that.
That's the ship that's still in the box that you haven't built yet.
That's his front. That's his.
That's what I was gonna say.
Los
That's
Hermanos.
his Los Pollos Hermanos. That's his front.
he's Gustavo
His
Fring, dude.
cartel empire
Oh my god,
is AI.
that's so funny. Dude, can you imagine if that was actually like as true
He's
as like, we're joking about?
probably washing money with the
Literally,
gamers.
yeah, that's what I'm
You know
saying.
what I
Like,
mean?
imagine GeForce being suddenly exposed as the biggest money laundering thing ever. Oh my god, that would be insane. That'd make for an interesting RTFM episode.
Oh, just let AI do the.
No. If it actually happened, like if he was literally being a criminal and laundering money through the entire GeForce business, like if that story broke.
But he's printing money for himself right now. What would he possibly be doing that would be like?
yeah, exactly. You
Anyway. So yeah, guys. I mean, that's all I have to say about the GPU thing on the like the $20 price reduction on MSR cards for 4060 Ti. I mean, that's not Nvidia. That's not Nvidia at all. That is the AICs trying to survive.
That sucks.
Because their entire business, at least their graphics business, is built upon the back of someone that has moved on to something else. So they don't care.
Like
They
you
just
can
don't
tell,
care.
Yeah, it's like that point where you can tell somebody's heart's not into it anymore. Like that Nvidia.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Talking about AI. This one I didn't know about until I just kind of went hunting for news. Valve is banning games from the store that are using AI generated assets. So if you guys know how games are made, it's easier to build a game today than ever with Unreal Engine and then like Unity assets so that you can just go and like literally look at free assets or cheap asset packs or whatever that you can just be like, oh, I want this and I want this. Oh, this is a neat looking table. We'll use that table. This is why you see so many games, especially indie games, that look the same with the same bad guys and same textures and stuff.
Because they're using the same engine and the same assets, they're going to look exactly the same.
You can literally even be like, I want this whole house. And then that house is in so many games.
Yeah,
and
how
you
many
know
times where
yeah.
you're looking through the indie horror genre and you're like, hey, that's the Phasmo house. Hey, that's also the Phasmo house.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? And then
what?
Phasmo's just like, well, we just picked a placeholder and then used it first. But I think what you're getting at is that's not intended to be the final, like, the game. Usually you get these assets, you buy these assets as placeholders so you can continue to work on systems and stuff.
Or they just were intended to be used like that, but I think there's so many indie gamers now. They're being used to the point to where they're very recognizable.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like a
It's like a
repeating
Wilhelm
background in a cartoon that's running,
Yeah,
right?
or Wilhelm screen, but for
Yeah.
assets.
Or
Yeah.
like
Okay,
those
yeah.
CS maps without the textures, or just orange and gray.
Yeah.
I never actually saw those.
You never play? Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Where it's like the sniper maps and stuff.
Yeah.
Where you just behind blocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get why people would want to be using AI now because you can break out of that monotony of having the same looking assets. But with Valve now saying, hey, if we suspect, well, they don't have to necessarily even suspect. What you're supposed to do as a developer is you have to submit proof of rights to use the assets in your game. And this is a CYA or a cover your ass for Valve because Valve makes money on every transaction that takes place on Steam. Remember, this is why Half-Life 3 never became a thing because they realized making a game was very hard work and very low income versus hosting everyone else's game on your platform and taking a cut of every single game that's sold or every DLC, every transaction. It's like 0.2 cents. I get 0.2 cents on every transaction, right? So it's much cheaper to do that. So if Valve can't verify the legitimacy of now allowing, I'm Valve and Nick is a developer, and Nick says, hey, I got this game. I'm like, cool, let's put it on my platform. This game makes $1 million. Turns out he stole assets that he didn't have rights to. Valve, as the transactor, is also involved in this scandal, right? So the question here, who owns AI generated assets? Because a developer has a quote here saying his plan was just to submit a rougher version of the game and to improve them prior to actually releasing the game, as I wasn't sure Steam had any issues with AI generated art, which kind of ties back to what we said last week. I hate this crap. When the game is ready, release the game. Don't do placeholders. This is that early access crap model that we've talked about, where early access is just an example, just a way for developers to have a buggy game and not feel like they have to really stand by it by saying, "Oh, it's early access."
Was this one of those
that's weird.
instances where
Yeah, do
he's,
something about that cough.
I know.
he's like submitting the files to be reviewed before it gets put in the market, or is this going to the market kind of deal? Like the developer.
I don't know what the process is for submitting a game to Steam. I know like Apple vets everything prior to it going on the store, because I only know because of Linus Tech Tips and talking with Luke about getting Floatplane and all that going. But
the sentiment I've seen from like what little commentary I've read on it is that Steam is probably one of the more lenient stores, which makes this story even more interesting because Steam is pretty lenient. I mean, you've seen the bottom of the barrel of Steam stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of crap on there that like some dude was like, I don't know, somebody will buy this for $2.
Right, but that guy just went into Unity and was like, "I'll take that, that, and that." And then as soon as you're like, all these assets are Unity, they were going to be like signed, off you go.
Yeah,
you know?
because it's just like how we license like music and stuff through like companies instead of going and finding indie artists and stuff to make music for us. Because then that licensing is significantly more complicated and annoying to deal with. Whereas we know that if we download anything from the source that we use, it's already handled. Like we know that 100% we're in the clear to use it. And so that's the CYA type of stuff that Valve is doing, because they're just like, hey, if we don't know 100% we're in the clear to sell your thing, you know what I mean? And like, and so I guess the actual debate question is using AI to generate art assets theft? But because Valve is seeing that question unfold in front of them and it's tangentially related
this is
to
almost
them.
the same argument. If AI becomes sentient, does it have rights?
Right.
So if AI generated a tree or whatever that you're using in this game now, if they used Nvidia AI modeling to do it, does Nvidia own it?
Yeah.
So then you give Jensen even more money he doesn't freaking need for more leather jackets that look stupid.
I'm so glad OpenAI. Wait, hold on. Let me look it up.
Let me double check that.
The problem with so many things that are labeled open, they're not necessarily open these days.
But from the Steam perspective, though, I could kind of see it like why they do that, because they'd rather help encourage the developer, like, hey, put the work in, do your own asset.
I would love to be
that's the reason,
I would
but
love to be
agree.
devil's advocate with you on that one, but I can't, because it's only about cover your ass.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, okay.
It's
But
100% legal for sure.
Yeah.
aside from that,
They do not care about the developer working hard. It's like the whole Darth Vader thing when it comes to whatchamacallit again, the Battlefront. So we want Darth Vader to make you earn Darth Vader, right? No, they don't care about that. They just want the money. I guarantee Steam is not try hard. Build it
I was
yourself.
going to like say it's also like a blocker for making a quick buck. Like, I mean, there's thrown together games on there for sure, but like this will kind of cut down, because you could, if you tell an AI, build me a game like Flappy Bird, then,
I don't think Valve cares, because if Valve has 2 billion crappy games, they can still say, we have 2 billion games.
Yeah.
Sure, they look at the hard.
And 1 billion of them are Steam Deck compatible and verified. Because I feel like they verified pretty much. There's like a minimum requirement, and then like if it's below that, like an indie game, they're just gonna be like, yeah, it'll run, whatever, fine.
So, but because everything has a yin and a yang,
My gut says like Epic's gonna say, hey, come over here.
Epic already did.
Oh, okay.
Wow, yeah.
Epic did. Epic was like, bring us your AI
actually,
games.
I forgot that you had mentioned that earlier today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Epic was like, hey, developers using AI, come on over here.
Yep.
Use our Unreal 5.
Exactly. We know you guys have been hearing about a UE5. Want to come use your AI stuff in our UE5 with our Nanite and Lumen?
Just sign here so we get to hold your game for a year before it ever goes back to Steam, Just
Epic is a very there's a lot of good and a lot of bad when it comes to the way they deal with developers and stuff. Like the Unreal Engine licensing thing is really cool, because until you make $1 million in profit, you don't have to pay them a single cent, which is dope for indie stuff.
But how often are they auditing?
I know. Obviously, if you sell it on the Epic store, then they already have those numbers.
But you just said of profit.
Yeah.
So how do they determine the profit? Are they gonna if you
I don't know.
reach over $1 million in sales?
That's just the license agreement. You're not legally allowed to use UE5 for your game unless once you hit that number, you begin to pay the licensing fee. You know, it's just it's probably like the same thing as like, you know, you're supposed to buy WinRAR after the first 30 days. But
I may have forgot to send in that registration.
I still think
many times.
one of my favorite Freddy Walk videos is still when Rocket Jump did the like somebody finally bought WinRAR and like the CEO is like standing on top of the building, like about to unalive, and then like
Unlive.
Well, I gotta use PC. You know, I don't want YouTube to like flag it. But anyway, yeah, he's about to unalive, and then like the dot matrix printer fires up, and it's like one purchase, and then like the secretary's like sprinting up the stairs, like, no, don't do it, we got a sale, and then so he's at the building, and he's just like. Yeah! And then it's a wide shot of like the dude at the top of the skyscraper screaming, yeah! And it says WinRAR on the side of the building. Like, somebody finally bought it. Oh my god.
Well, is it our fault if they didn't make the software stop working?
Yeah, no.
It's an honor system registration.
Yeah, and that's on your own honor.
I only bought Ada64 so that I could like full on use it as our sensor panel. That's the only reason I bought Ada64. And then, you know what? They update that crap way too often, and I rarely say that. I'm tired of logging into my computer and saying, there's an Ada64 update. I'm like, I just want my sensor panel. I don't want your update.
Yeah, I pretty much always just disable updates for Ada because it's like, unless you add new hardware that has come out since your version of Ada, you don't need to update. There's no, you know, there's no reason to.
Well, I was hoping that the updates would have made it so that my CPU temperature in Ada64 matches anything that AMD shows, but it still doesn't.
Because I still think that might be the AMD.
No, I think you're right. I think AMD shows an average between the CCDs. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I think it shows an average. Whereas I'm seeing whichever CCD I pick, that's the temperature I see.
Right.
So.
They should just always do a hotspot temp. It's just give me the highest temperature in the thing, because that's all I care about.
Yeah. Oh man, but this leads to such a. Oh man, it's, because does it give whoever developed the AI that's used to create something that becomes, let's say you use AI to help create a game that's like Phasmophobia, where it suddenly is made millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Do you then go, oh, wait a minute, where's my cut as the creator of whatever AI you used? We're in that.
It's a weird ethics phase.
It's a weird ethics thing that exists in an area where no law exists right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it's the Wild West for AI.
And it's like, yeah, OpenAI is treating it like nicely and in a positive, wholesome manner, but there's nothing that's stopping them.
Like I've read recently that schools and colleges are having a really hard time discovering and cracking down on reports and stuff that are written via AI.
Yeah, I've been hearing about like other startups popping up.
You can just be like, oh crap, I forgot to write ChatGPT, write me a 14-page essay about the Titanic. I don't know. Right?
That's what I was saying.
Times New Roman, double spaced.
Yeah.
There are startups happening where they're now using GPT style models to detect GPT written text.
And what are you going to do
which is a smart idea because you let the AI figure its other AI bro those out. Like it'll be good at that for sure. But the fact that now there's like it's like the.
Could you imagine now there's a doctor out there somewhere that's like actually doing all his studies now? Do ChatGPT?
Chat.
I would really hope a profession like that you'd take it very serious.
Yeah, I think that's why I think in academia, you should for sure just never be allowed to use it. Like, you know what I mean?
Again, a really hard thing to police.
I know, but I think it's gonna be like the radar detectors for like cars and speeding and stuff. You know what I mean? There's like radar detector markets, and then for the cops, there's radar detector markets.
Aaron Marcus in chat says, and we have a government that asks the CEO of Google why an iPhone shows an ad that bashes him, regulating this.
Yeah, or does TikTok access the wireless network?
Yeah. So if I go on TikTok at home and I'm on my wireless, does it access my wireless network? That was a real question in front of Congress.
It still cracks me up to this
when you have like a room full of crypt keepers writing laws. All right, moving on. And speaking of writing, you guys can write us at FTFA. This is for the FTFA section. You can write us at RTFM at JayzTwoCents.com. This is from the freaking audience where we take your guys' questions that we think might be interesting to kind of talk about here on the show. So we'll sort and start rounding this one out with James. I think this was actually from last week. He said, question, it's all well-known fact that cables for PSUs matter because of pinouts. How come the pinout on the GPU never matters? Any cable from the brand just works with GPUs but not PSUs. So he's referring to why does the GPU side always work, but the power supply side is dependent on the power supply.
Because there's one group that's speccing the GPU side of the power supply, and that's PCIe SIG.
This is going to be a very bad analogy, but I'm going to try it anyway. You got a bunch of people going to Disneyland, but they're all coming from somewhere else. So as long as everyone ends up in the right spot where they're supposed to be, it doesn't matter where they came from. So GPU manufacturers have different pinouts on their end, but they all end with the same order on the other end.
PSU.
Or PSU. Did I say GPU?
Yeah, the GPUs for
The
sure
GPU
have
side,
the same.
and by the way,
yeah.
GPU is nothing but 12 volts and ground. But the 12 volt and ground on the PSU side might be reversed. So that's why there's keys and stuff, so it only fits one way. It'd be nice if there were a spec, but you know what? If there's one thing we've ever learned about PC is there's very few things in the component side that is spec'd
Sensibly.
sensibly. I actually saw some comments on the Corsair Link video where, oh, if Corsair really cared about standards, blah, 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 they would just make this open and free. It's like, they developed the cable. They developed everything for it, and you want them to just give it away? I can understand Corsair obviously having their own ecosystem, but it's not Corsair's job to make sure Lee and Lee works with it and vice versa.
I wonder if that person believes USB is free and open because they don't have no idea about the amount of money that exchanges hands to license that stuff.
It probably takes them 4 times to get it in the right port. So
And it's a USB-C cable.
yeah. So
Sorry. Anyway,
great question. Next question.
yeah, you're so dumb you plug the USB-C cable upside down. Like, what?
I know some people that would apply to.
Yeah.
All right. Jeffrey says, digressing from Peanuts FTFA email last week. I don't remember what the email was.
I don't remember Peanuts.
I do. I remember I put Peanut because he didn't put his name in there. I just don't remember what the question was. He says, do you guys miss physical guides? Oh, that's what we were talking about, looking up guides. Do you frown upon looking up cheat guides in games?
Oh, yeah.
He says, do you miss physical guides? I used to have a whole shelf of guides for games I played back in the day, like Pokemon and Knights of the Old Republic, etc. So you can still buy hard copy guides for a lot of games, but
Definitely less than, it was before.
like Minecraft has a pretty, like a Bible.
That's
Oh,
dope.
geez.
That's actually dope. Yeah.
So Minecraft has like a Bible where you can learn how to do the alchemy for like so many different things.
Yeah, because Minecraft is one of
yeah.
those games where it's easy to pick up and, God, the amount of hours to master, dude.
No, do you guys remember the old highlighter guides? Like, it would have the hint, but if you were like, okay, so maybe you guys didn't see this. I'm really dating
is it like
myself.
a spoiler?
Okay, I'm really dating myself
It's
then.
like a spoiler tech.
So one of the games I loved playing when I was a kid was The Black Cauldron. Like Disney had a game, it was like Lucas Studios, I think, also did it, called The Black Cauldron. It was a little 8-bit game, right? And I would get stuck. But you could buy like a paperback, it looked like 8 by 11 folded in half and stapled, right? But a paperback that had in order how to play the game.
Oh, it's like solutions. For
So
the
if you
puzzles
got
and stuff.
stuck on something, it's like it would tell you like,
Right.
how do you climb the blah 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 blah, and then it doesn't show you the answer until you take the special highlighter pen, and when you highlight it, the words show up.
That's freaking
Oh,
cool.
so it hides the spoilers.
It hides the
basically.
spoilers.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You guys ever seen those?
No.
Those were pretty
No.
neat, but they worked once.
I think you just made me realize why the invisible ink like feature on iMessage acts the way that it does.
Oh, because you have to wipe it away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it starts out blurry, and then you do this, and then it reveals underneath
Yeah.
the message. And I was like,
It's
"That's
kinda
a
like-
scratcher. That's not invisible ink."
Well,
Invisible ink, you
the
shine
other
UV
one,
on it, and then I was,
the
but
other
no,
one was
it's
you would
jade.
have a paper that had the clue or the hint or whatever, and then you had the writing, but it was all like with the red speckles on it. You had to use the red lenses to look through.
Oh yeah, they had like
Yeah.
glasses and lenses.
See, back then it was like even cheating was fun because
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, I gotta like go hunt for this clue kind of a thing.
Dude, I remember when I was like researching the original Elite after I had first gotten into Elite Dangerous, and a lot of people were talking about how they really hated the secure lock system. I was like, what's a secure lock? I looked it up. Apparently it's this prism, like this foldable prism thing that came in the box with the game. So you unfolded it, and then you held your face up to the monitor and it would display the code, but the code was scrambled. And the prism that they gave you
Oh, it
would
unscrambled it.
physically unscrambled so you
Wow.
could see the number to type in.
Oh.
But people lose it, and then now they can play Elite.
That's kind of cool. I mean, that's reminiscent of Metal Gear Acid 2 for PSP.
Yeah.
It came with the 3D goggles to put on the PSP.
Yeah.
To make the whole game 3D, but it wasn't like a game break, like a game
Yeah, it didn't
changing
mean you
gimmick.
couldn't play if you
Yeah.
lost your goggles.
No, yeah, it wasn't. It was a physical interaction
Yeah.
apart from the controller, which.
So you're
that's
playing
cool.
like this?
You're basically playing like this. Like
That seems uncomfortable.
I think I
Meanwhile,
still
VR
have it.
headsets.
I'll have to find it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you should bring it in.
So Lucy Fry in chat said, I once called LucasArts help desk because I got stuck in an adventure game. They gave me the solution. Yes, I remember the help desk.
Yeah, I've called the Nintendo one a couple
They're
times.
not free.
Yeah.
I have
They're
it.
like their 900 number.
Yeah, I remember my mom yelling.
Yes, I learned that the hard way. I was like, it was a 900 number, which is a toll
They
number.
make it seem so easy and free to do on the back of the game.
Need a hint? Call this number. And I was just like, blah, blah, blah. And you know what?
Say anything about
They are
money.
more than willing to chat with you.
Great.
That's predatory, man.
Yeah.
We didn't know better at like 9.
So the only,
Like,
the
what
only,
the heck?
Could you imagine that with like Leisure Suit Larry? So how do I impregnate the hooker at...
great.
Could you imagine getting called for that?
Here I was thinking about Super Mario
No,
World.
I played all the Leisure Suit Larrys.
Jeez.
Where do you think I get my swag?
To answer not Peanut's question, yeah, I do miss guides a lot. I miss manuals for sim games. Like I loved that when my dad bought me the SU-27 Flanker, which was like that was the sim game that got me into sim games. Like I felt like I had an operating manual for a freaking Russian fighter jet. You know what I mean? Because it did. It had to explain everything to you because they don't expect you to be able to read Russian. But all the jets, all the whole
You have
cockpits in Russian.
the screenshots of
Yeah.
what gauges for you.
Oh, it's it's literally like I can't remember what movie it was. It was The Hunt for Red October. I can't remember.
Probably.
And they get in the submarine. They're like, I don't think it was U-boat something or another. But they just like, I get everything's in German, and then they don't know what they're doing when they're trying to commandeer the boat.
It's weird because like every once in a while I'll see like a more modern like Russian plane and like I'll recognize the glyphs for like AOA and it's just like, oh god, I haven't seen that in forever. And also like, well, how do I know this? But yeah, it was because you learn I don't know why a 10-year-old needed to learn how to fly a Russian fighter jet, but it was fun.
Yeah, that's how
Thanks,
they.
Dad.
Well, I know
how
a place that might come in handy
Yeah.
today.
Gosh.
I heard they could use some people, bro.
I don't know. I think there's some friendly fire stuff happening right now. You might want to stay away.
You'll know which SU-27 I'm flying because it's just freestyling and not actually PTFO.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Not-
doing Cobra maneuvers everywhere. Just
Exactly. Hey guys, watch this. Hey guys, watch
Knox in chat right now just told me what movie it was. It was U-571. I remember that.
yeah, I remember
I
that.
remember it was a U-boat, but
U-boat.
it was a U-boat. Okay, so we got another question here. This one comes from Kendrick. They say, hey, Jay, Nick, and Phil, love the show. 2 questions. Have you guys ever considered having another guest on the show like Austin Evans? I'm sure there would be a lot of coordination, but it'd be fun to have a guest on the show again. That would only work if one of us were out. Having 4 people trying to talk on a podcast would be very difficult.
Plus, all you would see is the
Actually,
back of Austin's head.
You would never hear Phil
yeah,
or
it'll just
Nick.
be
You'd never hear
3
Nick.
people with the 4th person sitting at the table. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
look over and Nick is just taking my ally off the desk. He's all just playing in the back.
I feel like it would be like a good fill-in kind of a thing.
Fill-in.
The second question is, Phil, have you ever gotten Jay or Nick to eat Filipino food? Have you gotten me to eat any Filipino
I don't think
food?
I've really never needed
I've
to.
had Filipino food, but
Yeah, I think probably before.
but I would like text you, I'm like, hey, there's this. You're like, oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah, it's this,
You know.
this, and this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
And then
think
sometimes you tell me what it is, I'm like, oh, I eat that.
But I mean, like, I don't think Jay is as stereotypically white as you think he is. Because yeah, I don't really need to push Jay for stuff. Even the takoyaki, right? You're like,
Yeah,
wait,
no, 'cause,
wait,
yeah,
it's
we-
octopus. I was like, it's deep fried.
It's deep. Okay. Yeah.
That was all the convincing he
You
needed.
had me at deep.
Yeah, and then he had like a half of the takoyaki as his first bite, and then immediately shoved the rest of it.
I was
in
like,
his face. Yeah. Your face was like, it was literally the wide eye emoji. Like, wow, whatever I put in my mouth is really good.
Don't tell me what it
I'ma
is.
do
Just let me enjoy
again.
it.
Yeah.
You gotta tell chat your wife's reaction. Because remember you text her, you're like, I ate octopus balls, and she's like,
Oh yeah,
why?
she's no. Oh yeah, first she was like,
why?
at first she was like, why?
Yeah, just a deadpan
And then
why.
later, and like right after that, she was like, "You never try that kind of stuff when I'm around." I'm like, "Well, because when you're around, I'm safe, and I don't feel like I just eat pizza or
Phil
whatever."
get Jay to eat bullet. I don't even like eating bullet.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's the chicken egg.
yeah,
that's
I've heard
a
of
little
that.
closer to being a real chicken than most eggs.
All right, last question comes from Lucas. Says, "What do you think of Twitch's new changes?" Okay, so Twitch has a new branded content guidelines. On-stream logos are limited to 3% of the screen size. Burn-in video ads are not allowed. Burned-in display ads are not allowed. What is allowed? Channel page, panel ads, panel products in the background of your stream, links in chat, discussing unboxing products, playing sponsored games, and burned-in audio ads are not allowed. So basically everything we do on YouTube.
My
It's
my
not
only
allowed.
commentary on this was I thought it was freaking hilarious when I was scrolling Twitter one day and I saw the 3% of screen size, And then everyone was reposting every first-party Twitch ad that was larger than 3%. And there were a lot of them. They were like, bro, you got to take all your ads down now.
Yeah, but they own the platform. They can do it.
I know, but still, like, it was just pointing out the hypocrisy, right? I thought that was funny. But
Jetman's saying that's old news and it's been changed. Okay, then we'll go ahead and drop that one because that was a rollover from the last week. All I know is like the burned-in ad stuff. What I'm going to say applies to whatever the new changes are. Okay?
Oh my god, I just saw IKEA's karakare and lumpia mentioned.
Yeah,
I'm hungry
lumpia
now.
sounds good.
What I'm going to say applies regardless what the changes are. Whether it's popular or not, Twitch can do what they want on their platform.
Yeah.
It's up to them if they want to shoot their own foot or not. I understand that Twitch wants a cut of any sort of transaction that's happening on their platform. Now, here's the thing. With the baked-in ads on YouTube and stuff, like YouTube knows we're baking in ads. Hell, we've got a channel partner representative. They know exactly how we run our channel, and they've never had a problem with it, and they're perfectly okay with it. You have to disclose it. They're more concerned about FCC stuff than anything else.
Again, going back to the CYA thing with Valve, right? Like,
Right.
That's all these companies care about. It's just all CYA. You know, it's easy to think what they're
because
gonna do.
YouTube is getting 40% of whatever the ad generation revenue is generated through ads, and as long as ads are on your videos, then they kind of don't care. But Twitch only gets revenue on the ad that plays, like, and when it plays in a very low amount or whatever, and they take a cut of all the subs and all that sort of stuff. But I think this is potentially Twitch, either one cracking down. I don't have any people I really follow on Twitch and watch, especially like large channels. I don't watch any large channels. I watch smaller folks. Maybe it's getting out of hand. Maybe it's a little ridiculous now, looking like Homer Simpson's website with like ads blinking everywhere and crap. Maybe they're just being greedy. I don't know which it is. But I devil's advocate, they can do whatever they want. It's their platform. So can YouTube. And it's up to us as viewers or content creators to decide, are we going to click accept or not? I feel like everyone complaining also has clicked accept because they have no choice.
Yeah.
They have to accept because it's their livelihood, especially if they decided to drop out of school or do whatever it is to rely 100% on it. And I don't think most of these Twitch streamers have a future plan at all. I think they're just in the now making all kinds of money and they're flipping out because they're now looking at this potentially coming to an end and they have to get a real job. So it's like, now what?
And also, during that whole process, now they're learning about what it's like to deal with a giant company.
What
and
it's
the
like
decisions
to
that they
build
make.
your business entirely within the business of someone else.
Yeah. Which is like...
Stepping on feet, basically.
Well, it's like if you don't think about it, it's really easy to forget that like at any point in time, they could ruin your whole life.
Jetman said it's because Amazon wants Twitch out of the red and they're getting desperate. Is Twitch really that non-profitable?
I don't know. I was hearing some sentiment about the fact that because Twitch is obviously so long form, that the amount of ads versus the length of the content is way worse than a YouTube
because
video.
a YouTube video can be 15, 20 minutes. Ours have been a lot longer lately. People are liking the longer format.
Yeah.
But, you know,
But imagine like running an ad on your stream every 15 minutes. But that's roughly...
Oh, people would lose their mind.
Yeah, but that's roughly what the ad frequency is.
There's
on
a button right there. You see that button?
Yeah.
What is that symbol?
Bitcoin. I'm kidding. Money. Yeah.
It's a dollar sign.
Yeah.
I could click that button anytime during a stream and run an ad and make some money. But I don't do it. I don't do that because I know it's jarring and it's annoying.
The only person I've done...
I want to push you right now. No, I'm just kidding.
The only person I've done see do that like on purpose was Sunless, but he was doing a troll stream.
Does it literally stop the stream and play an ad?
Yeah,
So
like for
if
everyone.
we continue talking,
No, he showed. He was like, and then I ran an ad because I was already trolling them with a 30-minute wait time before the program started anyway. So I'm gonna run an ad. And then you see the chat going like, ad. Ah, what the? Why? 5 ads, really, bro? And like the whole chat was just complaining, and it was all cracking up. But like, yeah, no, it'll totally just cut everything off and then run.
so
ads.
here's the problem. When you click that button, because I have clicked it before, like when I wasn't live, just to see what would happen. Well, I was live, but it wasn't to them. It doesn't tell you ad running, ad concluded.
Yeah.
You just click it and it's like ad served. It's like, how long was the ad? What is it doing? Should I start talking now? Do I keep talking?
Yeah, I know, it's weird, right?
Are they back? I don't know.
Like, are some of my subscribers like not seeing the ad, like because they're sub to me? How does this affect? You know, there's so many.
You know what? All right, chat. If you're willing, press 1 if you want me to click the button. And no, I might make $5. Okay, I might make $5. I just want to know what happens. Because I don't know.
We need them to tell us too. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, we need them to tell us. We'll need someone to say
that
the ad is running and the ad is concluded.
I have my preview up, so you can click the button, and then in like 30 seconds you'll see what it did.
Well,
Oh wait, no, I have premium. Crap.
Yeah, I want to give them an opportunity to say no.
Pull the stream up on the YouTube.
Yeah,
Now
exactly.
here's the thing. If you're running an ad blocker, probably nothing will happen. And if we were waiting, they would just see, like you would have to have a scene that plays. Or something.
I'm proud of our chat because this is probably the only time ever a chat has willingly asked for an ad.
Well, I think people are also curious.
yeah. No one knows.
Okay, are we ready? I'm gonna go ahead and click it right now. Okay, it said insert ad. Okay, the button came back. So it was only gone for like 3 seconds, and then it came back.
I think I saw you click it already, and it didn't do anything. Chat, did anything happen?
I don't know. Did anything happen?
Nothing
They're
showing
still
up
saying
yet.
1.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
Okay. So yeah, it did kick him out of an ad. There's a little bit of a delay, but yeah,
so how long was? Oh, you have to skip it.
it's a skippable, and it says 1 of 2, I think.
No,
1 of 1.
I got to skip it.
Nice, 1 of 1.
I clicked it again.
Oh my god.
I just want to see because that was really
Yeah, you said nothing
that was
happened
really
from-
delayed. Like
Yeah, if you guys have premium, nothing's gonna happen.
if you have premium, nothing will happen. Obviously, if you have an ad blocker, nothing will happen.
So many people in chat are remembering they got premium right now.
I know.
They're like, oh yeah, wait, crap, I forgot.
Ad happens.
So did I.
I run an ad blocker on my phone, but I only run it for websites. Like I don't have a YouTube ad blocker. I got so tired of going to websites and trying to sift through all the stupid ads. Did it play?
Not yet.
Weird.
Maybe you can't.
There's like
maybe
a
it's
delay
rate
on
limited.
the stream, so
The delay on the stream is just under 20 seconds. We already
Okay, yeah.
timed
So all the premium people are saying they didn't see an ad. Okay, that makes sense. So
That makes-
premium doesn't get an ad.
So
and
the
then-
second time I clicked it, nothing happened.
There's
It might
a lot
have
more premium people in chat than I.
it might have a cooldown that they're not telling us about. But then why'd the button go back? Like it came back as clickable. Whatever. Only
Okay.
one played. Okay.
Somebody said they got 2 ads. Somebody said their ad blocker caught the ads, which is so. Like, oh, there's your data.
Well, you got 2 ads.
I only got the one. The second one hasn't popped up yet.
Yeah, he got 1 of 1, and then
So maybe it doesn't serve it to everybody. That'd be weird.
yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. Speaking of non-profitability, this show is also non-profitability. So we're going to go ahead and end it right there, guys. Thanks for hanging out this week.
FCC, we didn't say it's a non-profit. Please don't sue us.
Let us
Or
know.
IRS or whatever.
Let us know if you guys like this more news format. I'm debating starting an actual news episode, a video, news video episode on the week.
Like a kind of a news variety show of like.
Yeah, where we can go into more of a high level, get more stuff in, but then we chat about our favorite topics during the RTFM show. So it might be like on the same day as RTFM, which would be kind of neat. But if you guys are enjoying this type of format, make sure you let us know. Hit the like button. That's free. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps the algorithm know, like, hey, people are enjoying this show. So anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out. Remember, write us at rtfm@JayzTwoCents.com, and if you have any questions, we'll try and answer them if they're fun and exciting.
And
So-
thanks for all your guys' data. I see people all like reporting in now. Like I got 2 ads. I got a skippable. This is how long the ad was.
Okay.
So,
well,
yeah.
this is over now. Bye.
Bye.